This video is to introduce some new models I've made for Trainz, and I'm in Surveyor here, and I'm just centering in there. You can see it's a milepost, and it's in the Great Western Railway style, because although it's painted over all yellow, you should just be able to make out that it's a piece of bridge rail left over from the late 19th century gauge conversion, just chopped down to length, and some wooden pieces put on front. And it's showing 161 miles from Paddington plus 161 and 3/4 miles. And so I've made 4 models of mileposts, and you'll see why in just a moment. And they appear under track objects. So if we just, where are we? If we just click on that, it shows us, there they are, GWR mileposts, 0 quarters, 1 quarter, 2 quarters and 3 quarters, and I'll just explain those. And so in Surveyor, what you do is you just click on where you'd like them to appear. So we'll start off with a no quarters milepost, and it's just, you just need to turn it round and it will position itself correctly on the left hand side of the down line. That's the down line, this is the up line. We're in the early stages of my new route, St Twinels, which I'm using to demonstrate my models. And I'm just going to put in one with, just put them up close together. Obviously you don't do this on your own layout, your own route. There we go, just flick it over. It's just because of where I'm positioned with the cursor. That's why they're appearing like that. So there we are, that's the full set of 4, and you can move them up and down. They sort of jump along rather than move smoothly. That seems to be the way it is with track objects, and believe me, I've discovered a lot about track objects recently because I've been working on point rodding, but that's for a future release. So now the thing to do is to personalize these, and I'm going to say they're all at, well, let's say 180 miles, or and so we just change the name. I've clicked on that one without any quarter, so I tend to use the capital I rather than the numeral 1. We'll say 182, why not? And click on that. That name is already in use. Do you wish to proceed? Yes, don't worry about that. As long as you know where you're putting these mileposts, doesn't matter. Because you'll already have, in fact I do already have on St Twinels a milepost numbered or named 182, but I'm using the name to put the mileage up. So if we click on this one and put the same in, 182, we'll get that same request window jump up. There it is, query, and we say yes. But there we go, we've got 182 no quarter, and then the next quarter mile along is 182 with 1 quarter, and I could do that for 2 quarters and 3 quarters. Let's just do another number. Let's do 93, just for the sheer hell of it, so that you can see. And it doesn't show up that warning because I've not got nothing under about 120 miles from Paddington on this layout, on this route. Let's do another one. Let's say 47. And as you can see, it's very simple, very straightforward. And once you've done them, that's almost all the job done, except that you need to know where to position them. And I've got a little trick which I'll show you at the end of this video, just to illustrate how you do that. So I'm going to delete those now because obviously they're in the wrong place, because apart from the Great Western mileposts, I've also modelled, if we just go up here, the same for the Great Eastern Railway. And these were different, naturally enough, and that's the no quarters milepost, and then this is the 1 quarter, 1 little black dot, and 2 quarters, where are we, just flick it over to the other side, and 3 quarters, and we'll put that there, flick it over into position. And obviously these need to be a quarter of a mile apart. And then you just do exactly the same with these as you do for any other my Great Western mileposts, we just name them. So let's name it 182, which is a little tight. We do wish to proceed, but you can see it's okay. They were slightly smaller lettering, and you will get 3 numbers in more or less. 18, the first numeral really does need to be a 1 or the capital I, and as the Great Eastern Railway tended not to have any mileposts counted out beyond 200 miles, I think I'm safe there. When it came to LNER, then obviously when it was all amalgamated, that would have been a bit different. Let's put a different number on here, 97, and a different number on here. I don't know, 136, just for the heck of it. And on this one, 97. So let's say 63, and there it appears. And again, you would name these after you've placed them. So you place them first, and as you're placing them, you then name them. And I'll come on to that, as I say, at the end of this video, the little trick that I've got. Now also, I've made some gradient posts, and there have been some gradient posts, very good gradient posts on Trainz, but I felt they weren't quite what I wanted, so I've made my own type, and there are, I think there's 8 models altogether. So they're all going to appear on the wrong side of the track when I add them, so I need to flick them over. And so here we've got level, so that's all part of that gradient post, and then all you do is you type in the one in, well, let's say 250, okay, and that will appear there, so that you can decide what gradient you can measure it from the gradient on the track. So that was down arm right, down to level, down to other. So here's level to down, so click that over there. Just trying to remember now the vagaries, but it becomes pretty straightforward. We'll say 350, why not? And then here's another one, level to up, and all we're basically doing is adding a name, just like you would say with a signal cabin. 125, except that's an exclamation mark. That really wouldn't work, would it? 125, there we are. 1 in 125, up to level. And just move it over, and then I've got to give so I'm going to put 1 in, well, let's say 175. 175, that's a uppercase I for the 1, and a 75, and there's already a 175 somewhere, so I'm not going to worry about that. So that's the name for that, because so long as you can have these duplicate names, it doesn't make a lot of difference in the track. And obviously you wouldn't have the gradient posts so close together. So that gives you those. They've all got level, but how do you do the other? Just trying to remember now how I did this. Okay, so we've got down. This is the next one with just one arm. Oh dear. So we're going to do add an arm to that. There it is, floating in the air, and this is very much how the other gradient posts that I've seen on the DLS work, and work very well. So now we're going to try and move that. This is the only issue I've come across here, and luckily you only have to get it into position once and then that's it. There we are, waving the mouse around, and you bring it along, come on, until it's in position. There we are. And then for the main post, we'll say it's 1 in 200 down. Okay, and for that post, because it's now a separate model but I've just butted it up against that, we say it's a 1 in 300. Why not? That might, so there we are. So that gives you down to down, and then down to level, down to other. That's what I've just done, I think. Yes. There we are. I'm not suggesting that I've got these absolutely straightforward in my own mind yet, but there we are. There's the now on this one what I can do is let's put in an up arm. There we are, and just again, just like I did with the other, move it into position. Come on, wakey wakey. There we are. Once you get it moving, it does click into place. It's pretty easy to click it into place. And we'll say 1 in 275. Okay, so that's the up. And then the other up is going to be from 150. There we are. So that's quite that's quite an indication. And of course, because I've got other mileposts here, down to level, down to level to down, level to down, level to up, up arm right, up to other. Let's try that. So now I can either add an up arm to this one or a down arm to this one, and down to other. I think that's right. Let's have a look. I think I did actually make more models than I realized I needed. That's already over here, I think, isn't it? So we don't want that. Level to down, level, up arm right, up to level, up to other. So long as you can put 1 or 2, in fact that one I've just repeated, haven't I? So that essentially, that one is that one, isn't it? I think, let's just check that. Up to other, yeah, that's the same signal. I'm getting myself confused here. So let's just delete that. So long with these two, you can put either an up arm or a down arm on those to give you the gradients that you need. With these ones, of course, because you've got level, you only have to put in the change of gradient there. So that's the gradient post. I hope that's clearer than it appears. And of course you sprinkle these along the route wherever you want, and you just go along the track using the get gradient option. Where are we? Get gradient. And that gives you a 0.2 gradient on this bit of track here. And oh, there we are. That's my track playing for you. 0.01. So that's, what's that? That's 1 in 1,000. That's 1 in 10,000. So you don't really need to put that in. So let's go back and delete the gradient posts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm going to show you how I have done the quarter mile posts on St Twynhels, because St Twynhels is a pretty big route, and as far as the UK outline is concerned anyway, and part of that route is a long branch out to a place I've called Barrafundle, heading out there. All these squares of course got to be sorted out in due course. And what I've done is, you can see here, I've just made up a train, a consist, that is 1/4 mile long. So therefore, if I can find my previous quarter mile post, then I can then use that to measure to where the next one should be. And here at, where are we? This is Millen Junction. forget the name now. Merion Junction, there it is. And we've got a quarter milepost, there it is, look, sticking out. So let's have a quick look at that. And what I want to do is put mileposts along this branch out here. That's the branch out to Bosherston, because this double track heading straight on goes to St Twynhels, and then there's a branch from St Twynhels that goes right the way out around the headlands to Barrafundle. And but Bosherston is another branch, double track branch out to a place called Lidstep, and from Lidstep the passenger branch continues to Bosherston as a single line, and also there's a single line which goes out to my what is going to be a industrial tramway. So first of all, what I want to make sure is that the points are set, which I think they are. Yep, that looks all right. And at the moment I've just laid it with these default junction levers, but I am in the process of, I just changed that one there. So I am in the process of making more models for track, and these will include new point levers, point rodding, cranks, etc. But all that in a future video. But this is just about mileposts and gradient posts. So here we are, back to Merion Junction. And so my first job to do is to move this consist. So I'm just going to grab it and hopefully it's going to move. Yeah, there we go. I'm just going to shuffle it along, push it along the track. So this is like your old wooden train set, until I needed this band just to make up the quarter mile. So there we are. So that's at the quarter mile, and it's a GWR milepost. Zoom in and it's 162 miles exactly. So because there are through trains from Paddington to Bosherston, then this track can have quarter mileposts. So on this, I'm going to put the mileposts, normally I put them on the down track, but I'm going to put this one over here because we also got the branch coming up from St Twynhels, which will have its own mileage. So the first thing to do then, choose 162, so it's going to be 162 and a quarter. So put the milepost in there, it's gone between the tracks, so let's just get it out. There it is, 162, 162 and 1/4. So click on there and I'm going to type in 162, and it's going to give me the warning. There it is, because I've also got another 162 and a quarter somewhere along this track which goes down to Bosherston. All the station, there it is. So all the stations on my route, by the way, are modelled on original prototypes. I've just lifted the track plan to use on my imaginary stations here at St Twynhels. Right, so next thing I'm going to do, and the track, by the way, although it's down, it's not finished by any means, and will take quite a bit of realignment and all the rest of it. So I'm going to move that along now. I just shunt it along. Oops, along you go, son. Try and stick to the track. So what I'm aiming for is to put the van up alongside that quarter mile post, and that was 162 and a quarter mile. So there it is. So now I can zoom along to here, and I can resume putting the milepost to the left of the down line, which is the way I want to do it. And all I do is go back there a quarter, and it's appeared on the right side. That's good. And then I just type in capital I 62, and it'll give me the warning again, of course. There we are, and let's just zoom in and have a look. There it is. That's the correct marker for that correct distance. And if I come back a fair way, step back a fair way, then I can grab this move it along, I think in one go. There we are. So this now will be 162 3/4. Remember, this consist that I'm using has got is a 1/4 mile consist, long consist. So this is now 162 3/4. It'll give me that warning again. There it is. Quite happy to have that. And if we zoom in and have a look, 162 miles and 3/4. And all I've now got to do to put the mileposts, 1/4 mile posts across my branch out to all sorts of places. This is going to go eventually out to Lidstep via a number of little stations. And again, what I've tended to do was choose a prototype station which I quite like, and I've just sort of vaguely positioned things there at the moment. A lot to do on all of these, but it's just giving me the original, and it's going to snake across the countryside in good old leisurely Great Western style. And here we have a massive estuary, great big estuary with some islands offshore, as you can see, and there'll be salt marsh and embankments right the way through. And this is the junction station here. This is Lidstep. All the station names on my imaginary route are taken from a little area of southwest Pembrokeshire, which never had a railway connection. So it's south of the line that goes from Whitland, Carmarthen and Whitland out to Pembroke Dock. But this is so it's all south of this line, these little hamlets that I've taken the names from, some of which I think are really euphonious, I think is the term. So at Lidstep there's a junction, and you can see it's got its own depot, and this junction is the passenger line going off, and this junction here is going to be out to, well, I'm calling it the Silver Strand Tramway. It won't be as straight as this by the time I've finished, and that's going to be in homage of the Silver Town Tramway, which was in Woolwich in East London, which I remember gricing in detail after it had closed, mind you. So that's why Lidstep has additional sidings that run right through, and it's going to have quite a signal box and signalling and everything there. So this is all before that's done. So just before I finish this video, I'm just going to zoom back over the route. See the track snaking away there, and we'll intercept it somewhere up here. Still got a fair bit of this. This is actually correct terrain, but from somewhere in the west of England. But this branch, by the way, is certainly going to be interesting, because it's going to go right out here. And goodness me, what have we here? Well, this is an airship hangar, Cardington airship hangar, which I modelled fairly recently, released fairly recently, because on the Twinels route it's going to have its own transatlantic airship depot or station, and this is going to be Gumfreston airship depot, and we're going to have airships coming in there, and there'll be passengers alighting here to take their airship on their transatlantic voyage. So I thought that would be quite a nice thing to add in. Basically, I'm chucking everything at St Twinels. Whatever can be there will be there. I've got a list of different types of models that I want to make. These are some of my, this is rather experimental at the moment, these are my cuttings. Very steep sided rock cuttings, almost vertical cuttings, and this is us coming into St Twinels. There's St Twinels station, and here is the avoiding line that goes round and links up with the branch line that starts here at right angles to the station, and this is the branch to Barrafundle. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because I've already done the mileposts along here, so I wanted to show you just, it's you know, it's a job if you want to sit down and just plod through them it's not that bad a job to do. Just trying to find where the quarter mile post is along here. I think there is one. There's the first one. Don't tell me I didn't save it after I put them all in. I'm sure I did, but who knows. I could easily have missed them. Just make sure I can actually see them. Oh, I don't believe it. Ah, what's that? There it is. They're tiny, aren't they, when you zoom in about in Trainz? There it is. So what's that one? That's for 168.5 miles, 168.75 through this enormous cutting. And there's the next one. So they are here still. Thank goodness. I thought I hadn't saved them properly. 168.75. And then on to the next one on this slight embankment. There's the next one. There it is, hiding away. But they are the correct size for Great Western Railway. So this must be 169. There it is. And if we just pull back, and you can see the branch snaking away. Now this is basically a late 19th century contour, or mid to late contour route, following essentially a more or less a single contour line or height. So it snakes around quite a bit, goes around headlands, which I thought would be great for having nice scenery and all that sort of thing. And here I've actually started, just to give an idea, flavour of what I want. This is Orielton Station, which is named after a place that I know from the dim and distant. Orielton, there it is. And where I've got quarter mile posts to put in stations, or where there's multi-track, I tend to just go for the outer track. I'm not sure if I can see. There it is. There's, oh no, I'll put that in between. That's still on the running line. There it is. And Orielton is 175.75 from Paddington. And you see here I've just made a start on basically positioning very standard models, and it's going to have a nice sandy beach and sandy cliffs. And I just want to show you a bit more of this, because there's another feature that I've experimented with that I've put in that I'm going to make some more of. And where's that? The next station along. Stackpole Elidor. I think that's a wonderful name. I really do. And there I've got the quarter mile post. For some reason it's stuck between two tracks, so I've got to sort that one out. Obviously it must have been just a dump it and then worry about it. Yes, because I've got this station, there's more sidings to put in there, and they're not positioned right yet. So there's a normal position for a milepost, 178.25 miles from Paddington. And then this is a siding, and from Stackpole Elidor we go round some serious cliffs. And I wanted to show you this, which is something I'm experimenting with, trying out, and it is a model of the White Horse in Oxfordshire, and I really like that, so I wanted it in my layout. And I'm thinking of doing some other chalk figures as well, such as the Wilmington Long Man, maybe the Sir Nabas Giant. Just see what else takes my fancy, but I rather like that, so I thought, yes, that's going to be a feature near the little station of, which one is it? This one. Oh, this is, yes, it's in the vicinity of Stackpole Elidor, which is a genuine name of a little hamlet, barely a hamlet, in Pembrokeshire. So there we are. So mileposts and gradient posts. I haven't put any gradient posts in yet, because I am going to be still working on the track, and when I do adjust the track, of course, because these are track objects, they will remain fixed to the track. So I just need to be a little bit careful when I'm adjusting them. And the reason why I'm saying that about the track is because all of this track I've got to spend time working my way along it, changing the way in which it's positioned. This is I rarely use this now. This is one of the standard on the DLS track alignment, double track alignment by, is it AJS, and I'm going to replace that with my own. I'll show you what I'm going to replace it with. There we are. That's going to be mine. That's my track ruler, and I don't claim to be the originator of this type of thing, although this is my own one. And but I copied this idea from somebody else who's put a track ruler on the DLS, and this is going to be the guide for all of my track laying on this route, and it's those lines there indicate where this track should be, because that's the 4'8" there, and then it's a 6 foot gap, the standard UK 6 foot gap between running lines. So all of this has got to be realigned, and I just made that track ruler a bit longer to spread across the double track. And of course, if you've got triple or quadruple track, all you do is click onto there, and there's your next track is going in there for your triple track. So that's how I'll be aligning sidings and so on. So there we are. I hope you've enjoyed this video. This relates to the this release of these little models, which I think add a nice bit of character. And to be honest, it's nice to know how long your routes are. So that's at Stackpole Editor. If I zoom right out and I go to the eventual terminus of this great long snaking branch, which this bit along, this reminds me of the line out by Teignmouth and Dawlish Warren, or indeed in Northern Ireland between Castle Rock and going towards Derry. And this is the terminus. So this is, and I've got a sign up there to show that it is the terminus, which I downloaded because it's going to be the terminus of Barrafundle, and I think I've got station signs on it. Yes, I've got one station sign on it there, Barrafundle. So actually I can now delete that. I think it's that type of, yep, there we go. It's just a scenery item, just to remind me with the names of the place. These are all genuine names, as I say. And here we've got the, is that round the right way? I don't think that's around the right way, is it? Just noticed that. Oh no, it is around the right way. Yes. Madness. And here, coming into Barrafundle, just looking for there it is. No, it isn't. It's a yellow of the grid. I'm just looking to see where the quarter milepost is coming into Barrafundle. There it is. There we are. And so the branch, you can see, stretches to 194 3/4 miles. In fact, I think I even put a milepost in further than that. I'm just having a quick look, and there it is. Couldn't resist. 195 miles. There we are. So altogether, that's about a 12.5 mile. I think that's right. Maybe long now. 20 mile long branch, taking us through to Barrafundle. And again, this layout, although the buildings, not the buildings, but the layout is based on a original prototype. So I hope that's been of interest, and also to show you a bit of St Twinnells. Still lots and lots to do, which I'm rubbing my hands with glee, thinking about all that's got to be done, because I think it's wonderful. And while I'm doing it, it's given me lots of ideas for new models. So look at that, wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Oh, I do like that. That's going to be great fun doing the scenery and all the rest of it, coming in there right the way round this headland. until we come into a little station here, little halt. Let's see its name, Trainz halt. Trainz is a absolutely tiny little place in Pembrokeshire, and this design here, this platform is my own, and it's a spline, as you can see, of a typical Great Western wooden platform used in halts. There's nothing else on it, but I'm changing this from its original version. There'll be a new version 2 of this and of a number of other items to go with the other bits and pieces of this platform. So there's a platform without the ramps at each end, which you just click into buildable sections, which contain things like a pagoda shelter or a tilly lamp with a couple of posters either side, or steps down, or whatever that I can think of that I can add, so you can have a tremendous amount of variety. So that's coming up. That's for a future release. That's still in work in progress, and there's a lot of other things that I'm working on as well, all really inspired by getting this new route underway. And and finally, what I should say, you might have noticed the spline points, the connecting points, are not rotating, and I've turned those off because elsewhere, not in this route but in experimental little layouts where I'm producing new models, they are actually a diversion. They make it difficult to see what you want to do, and so that will be so I'll normally be keeping those turned off because they're much easier to it's much easier to see things. And I suppose here, look, I can use my track ruler. Just why not? Let's have a look here. Because the other thing about my track ruler, because this is very much my bespoke item that I've just made for myself, and I won't be well, yes, I will be releasing it. Yes, of course I will. Is that apart from those dark grey lines, and you can see they're underneath this rail here, and if it was double track here, that's where the next track would go. You've also got a pale grey. I don't know if you can see that really. Yes, you can just about see it here. You've got some pale grey lines which cut through, and these two on the numeral 5 here, and this is feet and meters, that is where, so if I take this spline, that is where, using the standard, if I can move the spline, the standard positioning, that's the distance it should be from the track. If you're looking straight down on it, let's go straight down, that's where you put, let's move this again, move it so it lines up with that, and then the other end, let's just do that as well. We'll put a ruler in at the other end. And of course you just delete the rulers after you finish with them. There we are, and now we go back to our spline movement, zoom in a bit so you can see where we are, pick up the spline and move it in. There we are, and now I can just delete track ruler and delete that one, and this platform is correctly positioned, but it means the signpost is floating in mid-air, so we better move that over, haven't we? Otherwise we'll be in all sorts of difficulties. If I can just grab hold of it, come on, move. Come on, Trainz halt. It's not going to, oh, I'm in the wrong one, I'm in the splines, that's why. Here we are, and we just bring that forward. There we are, so it's now on the platform. So there we are, my little auto coaches or rail cars can just pull up there. It'll be steam auto coach. We'll pull up there to serve anybody who lives anywhere near Trainz halt. So that's the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any queries or whatever, just post the questions in the usual places, and I'll aim to reply to them. Please do subscribe if you haven't already done so, and look out for my next video, which will be all about point levers.